Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to 3 lessons you can learn from a toddler. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I mute. If as people are joining in, I'm just going to mute you, or you can go ahead and mute yourself. So if you are wondering like why I stopped for a second, it's because I'm doing that. Just because I don't want anybody to get distracted as I'm talking. So why this title I actually was really excited about. It came to me a few days ago and I was like, oh, that's what I want to call this. So it's 3 lessons you can learn from a toddler. And why the heck did I call this that? What I want you guys to think about, and this is what I'm going to talk about tonight, is I'm going to talk about 3 things, trying to keep it simple. Because sometimes I love to talk and I love to learn and I love to speak about things I'm passionate about, but I also want it to be in something that's digestible for you guys. And so if I say, here's 7 lessons you can learn about whatever, and then by the time we get to number 4, you're like, wait, what was number 1? So we're going to keep it simple with 3 things tonight. But the reason why I love this topic and I love, honestly, everything about children, number 1, I have been around children my whole life. I'm the oldest of 4 children. I'm the oldest of all of my cousins, of all of the grandchildren and whatever. And in my work as a physical therapist, I work with children. So in doing all of this, what I realized is I'm going to go a little bit more into me and why I'm talking about this in just a second. But my whole branding and everything is about joy and fuel your joy and all of that. And when I think of joy, I think of a child. I think of a toddler. I think of just how they approach life and how they move throughout the world. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, because I think if you really look at a child, and a child, like honestly below the age of 7, because at the age of 7 is where we are cognitively able to make rational thinking and rational decisions. So before we get too much into our head, 7 and older, obviously the older we get, the more experiences we have and the more we tend to sometimes overthink things. But what we're going to talk about today is why looking at a child and looking at those 3 characteristics we're going to talk about today, how that can actually be a huge parallel and a huge lesson to everything that you can learn in your life, and an approach to your life that I challenge you to just try. Because what children do are really about just being what I like to call like feeling and being in your body and not overthinking so much. They just kind of do things, right? And that's, if you think about it, that's really innately who we are. That's how we came into this world. Like when you think of a baby, like a newborn baby, their communication is through their feelings and their emotions. They cry when they're upset. Well, okay, let's be honest. They cry basically all the time in the first few weeks and months. And then they start to smile, and then they start to look at you, and then they start to engage. So they're communicating in all of these different ways, but every single form of communication is real, true, genuinely how they're feeling, because they can't talk yet. And I mean, just because they can't talk doesn't mean they don't know what's going on. Let's be honest, you guys. I work with so many babies that I'm like, that 6-week-old is manipulating you. Did you know that? They totally are. So it's like, give a child a little more credit than we do sometimes. They know what's going on, but they don't overthink things. So that's really what we're going to be talking about tonight, is how to get into your inner toddler, your inner 2-year-old, because it really goes back to, that's who we are. Like foundationally, those simple, quote unquote, simple traits are really who we are. And that is what I'm all about, is connecting deeper to who you truly are, so that you can show up in the world and be the person that you know you want to be, the person that you want and you desire to be. And connecting to that is how you are able to connect with something higher than you, but how you are also able to serve and be the person you were meant to be in this world. So I know a lot of you guys know me, but really quickly, like again, why I want to talk to you today and why I'm talking about all of this is because I've, again, been around children my whole life. I have been honestly just a very positive person, kind of a high energy person, and somebody who has always gone after things in her life and do this, get this done, boom, boom, boom. And I went through a lot of things. I achieved goals. I got a college scholarship. I went to Duke to get my doctorate. I got a job at the top rehab hospital. I started my own business. I've done a lot of stuff. I've started 2 businesses, and I've been around people my whole life. And I've actually been a curious observer of people. When I think about it, I find my faith, a piece of my faith, without getting too on the spiritual side. I see it in people. Like, I find that connection with people, and I believe that people can heal. We can heal ourselves. We can also heal each other by showing up as the best version of ourselves, for ourselves, and therefore then for each other. And I found that for myself, I was in a place of service for others, and I always have been. I have been my whole entire life, but I wasn't doing that for myself. I wasn't serving myself. I got extreme burnout, fatigue. Those of you that have heard my full story know I've collapsed at work. I got in a bike accident, hurt my leg. I'm not even going to say, the man I thought I was meant to be with hurt me in a way that I never expected. And I had friends betray me and just kind of like kick me to the curb for no reason. And I was like, wait, I do all of this for them, and I'm giving and giving and giving and giving to everybody else. And I spread myself so thin, but I never gave anything to myself. And I never really saw myself for who I was, which was actually a really strong, powerful woman who is, what I believe I'm brought here to do is empower women to connect to who they are and to just show up as themselves. And once I connected with me and who I was and had a little bit of faith that I didn't have to do it all, I was able to serve every single person in my life better. And the more I step back and actually take care of myself, like today, I was supposed to be on a training call with one of my coaches, and I knew she was recording it. And I said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to take a nap, and I'm going to watch her call and her recording later. But I knew that in order to do this right now for you guys, I had to take care of myself. I had to say, you know what? I'm going to take a little pause here. I'm going to rest so that I can show up as the best version of me, but also for you guys too. So I want you to hear that and think that in yourself, what can I do for myself to show up as a better version of me? Because in doing that, I'm able to help any single person that I interact with in my life. So that's me. That's what I'm about. And why I'm talking about this today is that I believe you can see so much healing power in children. And we're going to talk about 3 things that kids do that is a tool that all of us can do and use in our life. So if I look down, excuse me, it's just because I'm checking my notes. I'm not checking a text or something. So, okay. So I'll tell you the 3 things, and then what I'm going to do is explain that. And if you guys have questions, type them in the chat, and then we'll be open up for questions at the end. Okay. So, and the other thing is that this is probably going to be another 30 minutes or so. I want to respect your guys' time. I have, I don't want to ramble on forever. So we're gonna get to the point really quickly, which is what I'm doing right now. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 things that children have that we can really learn from. It's this: number 1 is curiosity. Number 2 is fearlessness. And number 3 is they have this just do it kind of attitude, a little bit of the Nike slogan. So we're going to start with curiosity and wonder. If you look at a child, and this is even, and you guys, I'm going to give a lot of examples because that's what helps me learn and helps me connect to it. So I hope these examples serve you. And if you can't relate to the exact one, the message you should be able to be helpful for you. So if you think of a child that is not even 6 months old, a 3-month old, and you dangle a toy in front of them. I'm going to use my necklace here. And you just, I mean, this is something that I'm speaking as a therapist now, but you watch them and a child should be able to track a toy going across their visual field at 3 months. So they go like this and they go like this, right? But it's not that they're just looking at it like, oh, that's nice, that's nice. They look at it like they've never seen it before. But if you think about it, they probably haven't. And there's just this sense of wonder of, like, they would have these beads and be like, wow, look at those beads. Wow, what is that? Wow. Or when they start to discover their hands or even their feet, you know, they look at their hands and they're like, are these things attached to me? Oh my gosh. And then they start to put their hands in their mouth. That's why at 6 months, everything goes in the mouth, because that's how they explore. They take in all of these sensory experiences in their world. Or my good friend's baby, he's 9 months old right now, and he's like fascinated with his tongue. So he's like, you know, and you stick out your tongue at him and he's just looking at it because he's curious. He's like, what is this thing? What does this do? Or they look at a toy or they read a book and it's so much, sorry, I like spit on myself, sticking out my tongue, such curiosity and wonder. And what is this? And as they get older and older and older and they start to be more independent, if you just give a child, think about all of the toys, all of the technology that you can give a toddler. What is their most fun toy? An empty box, Tupperware containers, and like bubble wrap or paper, because they can just play with it. They can explore with it. They're like, what is the sound? They can in and out of a box. I mean, I can't even think of when I was a child, how often we wanted to make a fort out of a box and we would draw on it and we would color it and whatever. It's this sense of what if, what would this do? I have this box. What can I do in it? And exploring in it. And that curiosity and that exploration is what helps them learn and is what helps them grow and is what helps their brain and their mind and everything in them expand, right? That curiosity and that exploration is how they learn. So when they're little, they're learning from, I'm going to put this in my mouth and eat it. Oh, okay, this isn't food, but I can chew on it and I can have this toy and whatever. Amazing. And then when they start to have their fingers, they're like, oh, wow, this is interesting. And then they graduate from shoving everything into their mouth to exploring things with their hands and starting to use more fine motor skills. And I'm not going to go into full developmental education. You guys know some of this stuff and you don't need to be, but do you see the progression of what's this? Ooh, I can use this. Ooh, what's this? Ooh, I can use this. So it's this curiosity of what happens if I grab this thing? And what happens if I do this? And it comes out in behavioral things too, right? And they're like, what happens if I scream really loud? Will mom or dad react? They don't. What if I scream louder? Okay, now they come running to me. Okay, I know that if I do this, then they're going to come to me. And it's the reason why I'm giving all of these examples with kids is this curiosity, and they always wonder. And then they get to become a 2 to 3 year old when they can talk, and every word out of their mouth is, but why? But why? Mommy, why do you have to have a car? Mommy, why is there a lid on this thing? Can't I just open it up? Mommy, why is that? And they're always asking why and wondering why. And then you just start, you're like, oh, this is so annoying. And you just make things up to get them to stop talking. But why do we want them to stop? Why hold back that piece of our mind? And then as we get older and older, this why, this wonder, this curiosity that is innately in us sometimes gets pushed aside because it's like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, or, oh, I might ask a dumb question. I mean, how many times have you been, even listening to me right now, you're like, I have a question, but it's probably a dumb one. I don't want to ask it, you know. she might be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that or whatever. Number one, there's never a dumb question, right? How many times have you heard that? But also, why are you holding yourself back? If you want to know, ask. Like, I think that there's a lot of things that are amazing about technology, right? The fact that I'm virtually live streaming to you in this moment, and I don't understand how the internet works, but it floats off to your computer or your phone and it works, right? How cool is that? But also, I'm like, how does that work? I don't understand it, but it's intriguing to me. And it's this curiosity and wonder that we have in us that we sometimes take away because we feel like we should do something, or we don't want to rock the boat. Those of you who were there last night, I gave an example of something at work that happened to me where it was like, they asked why. I shared my thoughts. I wondered, hey, why are we doing this? I don't understand this. Why are you not allowing the employees to do X, Y, and Z? I'm just wondering why. And coming from a good place. And then I got pulled into my boss's office and she was like, next time, please don't speak up when we ask questions. And you're like, well, then why are you asking the question? So we have these repeated examples, and I'm sure you guys have had some kind of experience similar to that, is we want to know, we wonder, but then people say, nope, actually, we don't really care what you think. Or, nope, we don't want you to speak up. We don't want you to ask. We don't want you to figure it out. You have to do it this way. But what I challenge you to do and to learn from how much a child learns from just asking why, or just wondering, how does this work? How can I figure this out? Because that's how your brain works. If you want to make a change or a shift or a transformation in any area of your life, your health, your business, your relationships, anything, look at that thing that you want to change and say, why do I want to change this? Or, I wonder what it would be like if I did something differently. I wonder, and not, oh my gosh, I have to change this. I have to do this. Oh my gosh, I need to change. Change that mindset to, I wonder what it would be like if I did this. And number one, it's going to take the pressure off of you. And number two, it's kind of exciting. Instead of it being this scary thing, oh my gosh, I have to change my life, or I have to change the whole way I do business, or oh my gosh, I have to get out of this marriage, it's not whatever. Why don't you just say, I wonder what it would be like if I talked to my husband, my wife, my child in this way. I wonder how they would react. I wonder what it would be like to talk to myself a little more positively. I wonder what it would be like to feel good about me. I wonder how much different I would show up when I feel a little better. Maybe I could try that. So do you see how it actually makes it a lot easier to make a change and a shift when you start with this curiosity, this wonder, this questioning, well, why am I doing this? Or what would happen if I did this? The other question I want you to ask yourself is, what would happen if I didn't change this? What would happen if I continued along this road that I'm not really satisfied with? What could happen? And think of all of those things that are kind of scary for you. If you're scared to make a change because you're afraid of what could happen, I really strongly challenge you to question what would happen if you don't change it. I know for me, I got to the point where I didn't change the way I was working and doing things, and I got extremely sick. I was in bed with a fever of 105 degrees, sweating through every single piece of clothing. When I went to the doctor, I was like, I don't feel well. And I hate going to the doctor. And she said, Miss Henry, you should be quarantined to your room for a week and you can't leave. And I was like, oh, I took the train here. Is that okay? Like, oh my gosh, sorry for everyone else. I got sick. But I mean, do you want it to get to that point? Do you want everything around your life to crumble apart? If that's the way you feel, I'm not saying you guys are feeling that way at all. But if you're at this point where you're like, I just want to do something differently, say, what would happen if I did this? Or what would it be like if I felt confident in myself? What would it be like if I was doing the things I really want to do? How would that feel for me? And just start to question and ask yourself these things, but approach it from this curiosity place of, I wonder what it would be like if this. And then it's not such a big, scary thing, because anytime we want to change anything in our life, let's be honest, from like, do I wear this jacket or this jacket? I've worn this jacket for years, and now it's time. Like, my winter coat doesn't zip up. Oh my gosh, I have to get a new one. What is that going to be like? From something that might be a minor decision to something of, I want to lose 50 pounds and I want to change my health and I want to take care of my health. Or, you know what? I've been thinking about doing this business and I think I'm going to go for it. Or you have a business yourself and you're ready to up level, you're ready to grow. You're like, I'm done playing small. I want to reach more people. All of those things are really scary. Absolutely. But start with something. I wonder what would happen if I did this. Or I wonder what would happen if today I just emailed somebody to see. You guys, I cannot emphasize to you the importance of, why not try it and reach out? You'll be surprised at how many people will say, okay, I'll try that. Or, honestly, for some of you guys that are here, I invited you, hey, you want to listen to this talk? What would it be like to learn this thing? That's basically what I asked you to do, right? And you were like, this is interesting. I wonder what she has to say. Boom. Like, you just did that. So the first thing that you can learn from a child is curiosity, wonder, and questioning everything. The second one is fearlessness. And I'm going to give a really, what I think is an interesting example of kind of a flow from the point we just made of curiosity and wonder and what if, to fearlessness and what the result ends up being. Okay. So my sister is 9.5 years younger than me. And so there's 4 kids in our family. But the gap between her and my brother is 5 years. So all of us were a little bit older when she was a baby. And God bless you, Mary B. We were kind of like, oh, she'll be fine. She is kind of like, she's tough. She is tough, but she's the youngest of 4 kids. And we just everyone was doing their thing. And like, we watched a video where we were trying to teach her how to walk. And my brother just picked her up like this and then threw her down on the ground, and she fell. We just picked her up and she threw. But the girl had a smile on her face the whole time. She was 9 months, and we kept picking her up and setting her down. And my mom was taking a video and was like, okay, Mike, pick her up, walk her over. And my sister kept falling, and my mom's laughing. And then we like to watch family movies. This is the reason why I have this as a recent memory, because we like to watch them. We just are like, oh my gosh, look where we were 20, 30 years ago and where we are now. But anyways, so my brother is just picking my sister up and down. My mom's laughing. My sister keeps falling and falling and falling. She doesn't cry. She keeps trying. The girl is fearless, right? Eventually she takes 2 or 3 steps and then falls again, but she gets back up. So when you think of fearlessness, I'm going to share another story about my sister, but think of a child learning how to walk, right? This isn't something I experienced when I worked at RIC, because I've worked with children that have had severe injuries. So it's basically like teaching them how to do everything they've learned. And actually, honestly, anyone who has some kind of brain injury, if you have a stroke or you're in a car accident and you have this horrible head trauma, you have to relearn how to do everything. So what's hard is, as an adult, you've already done it and and you're like, this is so scary. I know if I miss a step, I'm going to fall. I don't want to fall. But when you work with a child who has never learned it before or has had an injury and then the memory gets wiped, I mean, I remember holding on to these gate belts like, whoa, they're all over the place. Their steps are crazy and whatever, but they're moving because they're like, I can move again. This is so exciting. This is incredible. Oh my gosh, I'm walking. Even though I'm like holding them up and sweating my ass off, trying to keep them from falling on their face. But they don't see that part. They're fearless. They're just going for it. And again, why don't we do that? Because we get so stuck in our head and we get stuck with this thinking and, oh my gosh, but what if this happens? What if this happens? Or what if this happens? Or everyone's going to think I'm crazy if I just go for it and I try this thing that doesn't make any sense to me, but for some reason it feels like I should try it and I want to try it. So tying these two pieces of this curiosity and fearlessness together is this quick little story I want to share about my sister. So like I said, she learned how to walk at 9 months because she basically was like, girl, you got to keep up with everyone else. We were all busy on the go. Thank God for my mother being super organized and color coding everyone's schedules. I have no idea how I made it to half of the activities I did. Mom, you're a saint. So she had to keep up with everyone, right? So we kind of left her on her own to explore a lot. So my sister was very curious. We upstairs, there were 2 floors of our house, and upstairs in my brother's room, my brothers shared a room, bunk beds for literally their whole lives. And there was a laundry chute. We never used it. We took our stuff, we walked downstairs and put it in the hamper and whatever. But our house was older and it had this laundry chute where you could open the hatchet and then, throw the things down, and it went to the laundry chute, which was in the garage. So it didn't really make sense, but whatever. And so my sister opened the door and she was like, oh, what's that? So then she started grabbing her stuffed animals and throwing them down. And she was like, wait, she's not saying this, but this is what's going on. Where did it go? Throw another one down. Where'd that go? And then all of a sudden she goes, I wonder where they went. And she dives down the laundry chute. My mom hears like, thud, 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 and then silence. And she's like, oh my gosh, where's Mary? She's looking around, and all of a sudden she does not hear crying. She hears like, a toddler like, da, 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 talking. My mom finds her in the laundry chute. Luckily, my sister had thrown all of the stuffed animals down first, and they caught her. So she didn't injure herself or anything, but the girl had like cuts and scratches all over her face all the time. But that's what happens with toddlers, right? They just go for it. Bumps and bruises are normal. So she's literally upside down in the laundry chute with her stuffed animals, like smiling. It's like, hey. And my mom is freaking out, takes her out. She's like, oh my gosh, is she bleeding? Is she okay? And then my sister gets up and she like walks around and she's like, da, 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 da. Not a care in the world. She was not afraid. She literally dove for it. And then look at like the kids on the playground or the jungle gym. They're climbing on all this crazy stuff. Every single mom out there is having a heart attack. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But they end up, unless they do something crazy. My brother went down a slide with a stick and had to get stitches in his head. But it's all these crazy things. And yes, bad stuff does happen. And yes, I'm not saying like go let your child dive off of something crazy. No. But what I'm saying is look at how fearless they are. They just go for it. They just do it. They're just free. And again, we get stuck in our heads and we don't do that as adults. My question for you is, why not? Why can't we? It's really a part of innately this adventurous spirit, this wonder, this fearlessness is in us when we're born. And obviously there's an extent to this. Like some people are just risk takers and go to the extreme and whatever. And if that's not you, don't do that. But what I'm saying is there's a piece of you that kind of wants to be a little bit of that risk taker, even if you're super shy and you do everything by the book. A piece of you is like, I wonder what would happen if that, again, I wonder, this curiosity. So my question and my challenge for you is, where in your life can you be a little more fearless? Where can you get slightly outside of your comfort zone and do something that scares you even a little bit? And then just see what happens. See what happens. And you know what? It's probably not as scary as you think. A lot of us, I want everyone to hear this because this is something I remind myself of daily. You are so much stronger than you think you are. The human mind and the human body are fascinating. And if you start to change and shift these thoughts in your mind of, oh my gosh, making a fear-based thought and, oh, what's going to happen if, and being fearless, because here's the deal, guys, love and fear cannot coexist. So if you choose fear, you're not allowing yourself to choose love, to choose joy, to choose all of these good emotions over here. Okay? So push past the fear and choose love, choose joy, choose to say, you know what? I'm terrified and I have no idea what's going to happen, but what would happen if I just tried it? Okay? And I know this is a huge concept to grasp and I'm simplifying it. But what I'm saying is, what I want you to think about and what I want you to hear and what I want you to realize is that's actually already in you. It's a part of you that you've had, and maybe you don't even remember what that feels like. That's okay. If you're really stuck, I can totally help. But I want you to know that that is in you. This fearless, fierce, strong person is in you because you were that way at some point in your life. Maybe you weren't the toddler that was diving off of everything and you were the one that sat back and watched a little bit. But you sat back and watched and you were like, I wonder what those people are doing. Maybe you were a little more reserved and you were curious and exploring in your own way. But that's what I'm saying. You guys explore, be curious, be fearless in your own way and in a way that works for you. So that fearlessness and that just do it kind of thing go hand in hand. So the last piece that I want to talk about is, and I kind of didn't say this in this exact order in the beginning, but the third thing that I want to touch on is you expressed your feelings and emotions as a child. And sometimes we don't do it as adults, right? So think about, the only way a baby can communicate is through crying. So here, how do they communicate? They cry, they laugh, they smile. Because they're expressing how they feel. And as adults, we don't always do that. And so being connected with your feelings and expressing your feelings is something you do right when you get out of the womb, right? A baby, they get out and they're like, ah! They're screaming because they're like, what is this? I was inside this warm thing called the placenta for 9 months or 10 months or whatever, however long it was. And now I'm in this big scary world. Yeah, I'm going to cry. This is scary. What is this? Or they see something that excites them and they smile. They finally look at their parents and connect to them and they smile. It's like they express how they feel. Yeah, a lot of times it's crying because they can't speak it, but they're connected with their feelings and their emotions and they share it. And the other thing along this line, and what I'm all about, is joy. And I want you to know that joy is your natural state, because that's why I picked toddlers. Look at a 2 to 3 year old who is just happy. They don't care what they're wearing. They don't care what they're doing. They think of a kid just running around, and I think of like a 3-year-old running around in the sprinklers, or one just running through like mud or jumping in puddles or whatever. They don't care what they look like. They're just enjoying the moment. They're enjoying the feeling and they're just expressing joy. So they're laughing. Oops. They're laughing, they're jumping, they're giggling, they're doing all of these things. They're expressing their feelings, and that that pure, true state of joy is just where they just have it. And it's in them and it's just flowing through them. And it's something that we all can have because it is something that we've had at some point in our life. No matter how much trauma, pain, suffering, we've all been through it, and we've all been through some form of trauma in some form. But there is a piece of you that you may have completely been disconnected from, that knows how to feel, that knows what joy is like, and that knows what these emotions are, and is able to express that and is able to share that, and is saying, you know what? I'm enjoying that. Just feels so, so, so good. So those are the big points that I wanted to touch on. Question everything, approach things with curiosity and wonder like a child. Number 2 is this fearlessness, this just do it, go for it. What would happen if I didn't try this? And the third piece is that feelings and being connected and communicating our feelings is actually something that we've done since we were babies. And that joy that we all are searching for and craving for is in us. And we've experienced it at some point in our life. So if you guys are like experiencing any of these things and you want help or support, that's what I'm here for. And honestly, you can reach out to me and I can find a way to help and support you in all of this. If you can't tell, I'm super passionate about all of this stuff. You can message me on Facebook on my personal page or my business page, which is Dr. Katie Henry. It's like facebook.com/Dr. Katie Henry. That's all of my contact info on social media. I don't really use Twitter, but I have it. Instagram is at Dr. Katie Henry, like Dr. Katie Henry. And my website, which is new website launching soon, but you can actually go to it, is www.drkatiehenry.com. So that's all the ways you can get in touch with me if you want to, but you don't have, like, no pressure at all. But if I swear, if you guys are feeling any of these things or you're feeling stuck in any way and you don't know how to move through it, get help and support. That was the best thing I did for myself when I was going through this myself. And it's something that I love to do because, I mean, that's why I'm doing this coaching work, because I believe that the people that I'm here to serve, and every single one of you who's listening, you are a person who gives to others. You are a person who is in service to others, whether it's through your job, whether it's through your business, whether it's through your work or whatever. But it's really who you are, whether you're a mom, you're a wife, you're an employee, you're an entrepreneur, whatever. You are a person who wants to give and serve and make an impact on this world. But I'm telling you, if you don't do it for yourself first, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not going to be able to do it to the fullest potential if you don't take care of yourself. So if you need help and support in that, boom, I'm your girl. I'm happy to help you with that. And reach out, because it's not fun to try to figure out on your own. It's really not. But if you guys have questions about this training, about any of the stuff that we've talked about, reach out. But I'm also going to open it up for comments here. You guys can type in the chat for comments, or if you want, you can unmute yourself. So actually what I would love for you guys to do is type in the chat piece first. And then I can comment things and everything like that. So again, you can reach out to me at drkatiehenry.com. You can also join the Facebook group, which is great. I've been putting a lot of videos in there lately, but it's called Fuel Your Joy. So it's facebook.com/Fuel Your Joy, or / the one that goes this way, Fuel Your Joy. So yeah, those are all the ways you can reach out to me if you want to. I would love to chat. So I'm going to unmute everybody who is listening here, but I'm actually going to end the recording so that you guys can share things if they're personal for you. That way, you don't have to feel bad about sharing. Okay, so again, thank you so much for everyone who's listening to the recording. You have access to all this information forever and ever and ever. So if you need me, Katie at drkatiehenry.com, or find me on Facebook is honestly the easiest thing for me to message. So you can reach out to me there. Okay, thank you guys so much. And always, 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 please go out and do something today that brings you joy, because the more you experience joy, the more the joy is going to be a state of being for you. So have a good one.